And a big part of the problem is that our top leaders are so insulated from the rest of the world by all these yes men and yes women that cluster around them. I don't think they understand the extent to which ordinary Americans understand. We have been lied to on a monumental scale. Americans are the most lied to people on the face of the earth, whether it's ClimateGate or the When Pigs Fly flu or TARP and all the rest of that. We see that it is an unending series of lies going back to Saddam's nuclear bombs. I think our government leaders, Obama and the war hawks, they're so insulated. I don't think they understand the degree to which their credibility has been destroyed. Now, some people obviously do. You were talking before about this sudden push for internet censorship. We're hearing the United Nations call for web operators to be licensed in order to control who is allowed and not allowed to create a website. This, I think, is a knee-jerk reaction to the fact that it was the blogosphere and it was the alternative media that brought down the whole ClimateGate hoax, and absolutely exposed to the world that these kind of large-scale conspiracies between government and academia and corporate media, yeah, they really do exist. We've got one staked out on the dirt for you to study all you want. And I think the globalists are having a fear reaction. They're trying to find some way they can drag us back to the glory days of the 1950s, where they just wave Russians at us and pump lies at us through the TV, and we had no alternative but to sit there and accept it and believe it. But it's a completely different environment, and they are failing to evolve to that new environment, which is why I am convinced that the U.S. government is headed for extinction by its own hands.
But that's the globalist plan. The big banks sit offshore. They use the U.S. to carry this out. They get us deep in debt. Then they scapegoat us for everything in the end.
Well, I don't think we're talking about exactly the same mechanism. I think the U.S. might implode before those plans can even come to fruition. But the bottom line is, when the U.S. goes down, I think it's probably going to take a big chunk of the globalism with it, because so many of the globalists were using the U.S. as a foundation, at least to launch the swine flu pandemic hoax and the economic hoax you were talking about. The banks are calling for a new global financial authority, which we knew was going to be the third pillar for the foundation of global government. But all three pillars are in serious, serious trouble. And I think that if the United States government and economy implodes, that third pillar is going to get dragged down with it, and the globalists are going to have nothing that they can use to trick the people into going along with the global government. They can sit up there and say, we're the global government, but if 5 billion human beings, 6 billion human beings, sit there and say, I'm not going along with it, they do not have the military force to literally conquer the entire planet and rule it from a single golden pyramid somewhere.
Well, I agree with you, and almost all the economists and historians we have on say that the New World Order has overplayed their hand, that everything is starting to really crumble for them, and that when the dollar goes, it's going to suck all the other major currencies right along with it. And then when the banks try to finagle a whole new plan to give them even more power out of the crisis they created, that they're just going to get arrested, because we've done our job in the previous decades of identifying them and breaking down the global government and breaking down who they are. They tried to just blackball us and ignore us and call us conspiracy terrorists. But now that everything we said came true, the public's taking it like some form of revelation. It's not some form of revelation. We're not staring into a reflecting pool or looking into a misty, crystal ball. We read what they said they would do. We went out not caring if we got attacked to tell the truth, and it's literally the equivalent of billions of time bombs in people's brains, that as things get worse, they remember everything we told them.
That's exactly right. I'm flooded with emails saying, I thought you were a loon 5 years ago, but obviously you're correct. Everything that you predicted and warned about was coming about. Right now, the ClimateGate pillar and the swine flu pillar are in absolute ruins, and this financial push, this quest to create a global reserve bank, is falling apart, because most of the world sees economic globalism as the reason that a U.S. downturn turned into a global calamity. They're not going to see globalism as a solution to problems created by globalism. It's like taking the Titanic, backing up, and whacking the iceberg on the other side just to see if maybe that fixes the leak. Most people understand that really isn't going to work. I think most people are beginning to see the idea of a single global government as a problem, and they see the return to small regional communities, thousands of them across the face of the earth, as the answer.
All right, let's go back. the arrogance of these people. We get the Copenhagen Treaty 2 days into the 2-week conference. It's worse than we even thought. Literally hundreds of new taxes, right at double the carbon cuts for the third world. They lied to the third world and said, look, I know you don't like the IMF and World Bank. You know we robbed you. We promise we're going to give you a bunch of free money from the evil Americans and Europeans and British and Australians. Then they read the treaty, and it rapes the West, but also rapes them even worse. I mean, how did the bankers think they could... I mean, it's just... Stay there, Mike. I want to go to Mike Rivero and talk about the fact that it doesn't matter if the Congress has said no. It doesn't matter if the cap-and-trade bill is dead. The city where I live, they've announced $2.6 billion within the first 3 years of this. Starting next year, they're trying to pass it later this month or early in March. And the federal government and UN openly run it. Home inspections, taxes on everything, doubling on your energy prices. I mean, just raping the likes of which the world has never seen. We're going to be talking about that with Mike Rivero. But let's go to John in New York first. John, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. I just want to say I completely agree with everything that Mike had said there, especially about us going down the same road as Nazi Germany, because I think Hitler was basically an evil Pinocchio controlled by Rockefeller and Rothschild and Bush's great-grandfather Prescott.
Well, actually, so, you know, we used to cover that when it was in the London Guardian and BBC, and people wouldn't believe us. But now, I mean, even Oliver Stone's making a film about it. But he doesn't tell you the communists were also funded by this. But if you read Carol Quigley's book, who was allowed into the annals of the New World Order, this was the head of Georgetown Political Science, Bill Clinton's mentor, he explains the public wants choices. So we give them fascism or communism and the different variants of those when it's all black uniforms, secret police, high taxes, ultra elites. Mike Rivero.
Choices were being given, whether it's fascism versus communism or Republican versus Democrat. It's all an illusion designed to sell us the same agenda, which is complete control of our lives, the looting of the population, the suborning of individuals to the will of the state, constant war to grind up work product to keep us all under control. And it is the same, and it's the same thing. We don't really have a choice until we choose to stand up and say no. And one of the points that I'm hitting at my website and my radio shows these days is we don't have any freedom until we have the freedom to say no, and we'd better get that one back. Or
anything else, John?
Well, yeah, I agree. You know, I totally agree with that, and I think that the time is now. I mean, I hear you say, Alex, you know, about the next election and this and that, and honestly, we don't have much control in the election anyway. If we do happen to get somebody in there that's good, they'll just take him out anyway. We've seen that done with Kennedy. I mean, there's no way of stopping him.
I hear you, but none of it's at the state level. None of it's an idea. Ideas are bulletproof. As V for Vendetta says so well, they're eternal. And so if you simply continue to tell the truth, sunshine is what beats these people. Banner hangs, websites, radio shows, information. We're telling the truth, and if we just set the truth up against the lie, we're going to win every time. Mike Rivero.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We're beginning to see the states starting to pull away from the federal government. We're seeing the emergence of more and more secession movements. We're seeing people talk about breaking off and forming their own country, and I think that's a good direction to go. I think at this point, hardly anybody sees a reason to continue with the federal government. They're taking all of our money. They're giving nothing back. Obama's new budget puts us on a wartime footing. He's freezing domestic spending, which is a polite way of saying, sorry, we gave all your tax money to the banks, and we've got nothing left over to spend on you, and we need the rest of this pile of money to buy bombs and stuff. And so everybody out in America is saying, well, why do I need this? Why do I need to spend the rest of my life?
Well, let me say this about secession. I am for 10th Amendment, 9th Amendment declarations. The states form the federal government. They are the boss. The globalists, in some of their game plans, do plan to break off the Southwest into an enclave as part of the North American Union. That's in their own documents. It's on record from the SPP and CFR. But at the same time, if your country's been conquered by offshore financial interest, the only way to get it back is to have people remove themselves and then reconstitute it.
Absolutely. And, we need to basically get back to the Constitution as it originally was, which includes no private central bank. In 1913 is when the conquest of America truly began, and it's been proceeding very, very slowly. Now we're in a race. They're trying to complete their designs before the rest of America wakes up to what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, they captured the U.S. a long time ago as an engine of tyranny, but now they're really trying to further exploit us and bring us into a high-tech form of enslavement, and to try to use up the rest of our energy and our sustenance, our substance, in their overall conquest. And it just isn't going well for them, which I'm glad about, but also it's kind of scary that everything they're doing is falling apart, but they don't care. They just roll forward, Mike.
They're addicted to our money. That's the problem. We need an intervention.
I mean, it's like an employee or a boss or an alcoholic husband or wife, somebody who won't stop, and you're so amazed by what they do. But this alcoholic husband or wife has men in black uniforms with machine guns that work for them who are ready to kill whoever they're told to.